minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh, that's a good open. I waited to cough until the mic went on. Yes, and welcome to yet another show of, I'm not sure it's the aptly named, Lynn Cullen Live. For now.
Yes.
I've got with me the most wonderful human being. Her name is all over the place these days. Vanessa German. You're hot. They're going to name it Vanessa. They're going to declare Vanessa German Day in Pittsburgh, probably.
Ah, that's so funny.
Oh, no, they will. They will.
I don't know that I'd take that.
Oh, you can't. I
know we're live, so we probably should move on. But
really, if the city said, we'll make this Vanessa German Day, you wouldn't. Come on, you use opportunities. You would use.
Yeah. I would then name it Jordan Miles Day.
Here you go.
I would name it, this is the day that all of the people who are supposed to take good care of us come out onto the streets and say, we will not stand by we won't stand by the police indiscriminately beating our children. We won't stand by our schools not absolutely doing everything that they can to give our children the best education. That's what it will be called. It'll be called the day that our public officials can come outside and feel free to cry and dance and be like, this is the day that we stand up and say, that we are more human than bureaucracy. That's probably what I would do. I don't know that I could why would I take a day in my name when we could take a day in the name of so many other things?
See, that's Vanessa German. That's Vanessa German. I was trying to think of, just stick with nouns, I said to myself, not adjectives, that would describe this woman. And I thought, there you are, woman. And that might be the first. Artist, activist, poet, giver, opportunist.
Holla.
What?
I said holler.
What'd you say?
I said holla. You know how you don't know. You don't know holla.
Okay, all the hip young ones are laughing
what you
at
say
me
when
right
you
now.
Agree.
Oh, okay.
It's when the church says amen. You're saying as
like hallelujah,
like partially like hallelujah, but also like holler back. You know, get back to me, holler. Yes.
Okay, well, you look at me.
Affirmation.
I'm an old white lady, okay? How would I know that?
I thought you were a person of color.
Well, I'm colorful.
There you go. All right.
This woman, okay, so what did I say? She's amazing. Amazing. Now I have to describe why. Why are you amazing? Who the hell are you? Where did you come from? She is She is the emerging artist. I get the funniest image when I see
Yeah, I bet you do.
She is the emerging artist of the year. Thus spaketh the Pittsburgh Center for the Arts. If you want to see an amazing show, gotta head to the opening a week from today.
Yes.
At the Center for the Arts. Vanessa's work is there, and Vanessa will be working there.
And performing.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
But you're really here today.
I am. I'm really here today. I think we can start there. I'm really here. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I just want to eat her up. You're a force. That's another now. You're a force. There's a force of personality about you, but you use it constantly. Do you see your whole life as like a work of art?
Well, art for me is so much about the process, a process. So in a way, I could say that, but I think about my life as I think about my life as a force. So you said force, but I think about it literally as an active force of love and forgiveness, because I'm so, I'm always working, to be the best human. So force of love and forgiveness and creativity.
Right.
Right. So those are the big things that are always
I was thinking about you last night. I was thinking she can't help herself. No matter where she is, she's creating.
Oh, I am, and that some of the people that I'm with just wish I wouldn't. For real. Some of my girlfriends always like, "Are you making a song at the get-go now? The man doesn't need a song now. He just want to pump his gas." No, really, like that's it. I have had friends tell me, stop me before we go into the grocery store, and they'll say, "Vanessa, this is in and out. We know what we need. Don't talk to people." No, people try to, that happens, but that's always what's inside of me. And sometimes it's very difficult for me to, I actually don't try anymore to shut it down, I was at Frick Park watching the lawn crew play fake baseball. They had a stick and a ball, and they were playing baseball, and it was all I could do to not just yell out, "Swing and a miss, stand there!" And I did, and I started to call their baseball game. It was hilarious. And my girlfriend was just looking at me like, here we are. She's like, "I guess I'm the ref because I'm just quiet watching the moves." And yes, it is inside of me. And it's not my job to stop creativity from happening. That's not my work. My work is the work of ideas and action and inspiration. And inspiration without action is regret. It's too old. I just don't want to.
Okay, there you go. Inspiration without action is regret. You just said
For me, yes. That's how have you ever had a great idea and you in your sleep and you don't write it down in the morning, you almost have a sense of grief? You're like, oh, yeah, that was so good, and it is gone. And
you don't let that happen.
I try not to let that happen.
So here's my question.
As much as possible.
Do you sleep?
I do sleep.
I'm surprised.
Sleep is very important to me, but sleep is important because, a couple of things happen. Things are activated when you're asleep that can't be activated at other times, But what's important is that I organize my whole life so that I can spend as much time as possible doing that which brings me, the most joy and brings me closest to the feeling of being, to the sense of being my whole self. I think about the environment that my soul wants to be in, and I have organized my entire life so that my soul can be in, like the most part of myself can be in its opportune environment, which means I can sleep whenever whenever I
but
need
it
to.
Also means that if you don't like the environment, you try to change it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
all your work, it seems to me, and your life is about altering an environment that you think is not conducive to happiness. No?
Well, I mean, some of it is, most of my work is about trusting my instincts and doing that which, most fervently rises up inside of me to do.
It just occurred to me, anybody listening to you is saying, wow, wow. And then they're thinking, why doesn't she, that would be me, ask her what it is she does? Because, I mean, they still don't know what the hell it is we're talking about. The thing with Vanessa is there's so much going on that I don't quite know where to start. So let's start on your porch. Let's start on your porch. And I just want to slip this in. I'm sitting on the bus. I got on my little phone today, and up came this quote from Marcel Proust. And I thought, this is like Vanessa. He said, "Let us be grateful to people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom."
I'm grateful to the people who make me happy.
Happiness is not something I really think of when I think of what you're creating. I think of you as creating inspiration for others to then work on themselves.
Well, and to be alive themselves, to be most fervently alive.
Right.
And that's, when I was a kid, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I grew up around a lot of violence. And I had friends who killed people, and friends who were murdered, and friends who died of AIDS. I grew up in Los Angeles in the 1980s. And so I had been really afraid to die. And I decided that if I get taken out very soon, then I needed to make sure that my days were spent as alive as possible. And I realized at a young age that it was not good for me to be afraid of things, so I worked to be as fearless as possible with my own days and my own self.
Well, you've been very successful, because that's one of the adjectives I think of when I think of you as fearless. I happily bumped into this woman twice in a period of about 3 weeks, and that led to her saying to me one day, "Come over to my porch."
Yes.
And rarely have I gotten an invitation that was so, I could not wait to get to your porch, because you had told me what was going on your porch. Come to my porch. And I think 2 days later, I found myself at your porch. And I feel like I have been changed for the better by being on your porch.
Yes.
Let's talk about this porch. A porch on the corner of Hamilton and Hayes in
Homewood.
Hayes.
In Homewood.
In Homewood. And you mentioned Jordan Miles before, because the first night I was there, we took a little ride, and when we turn right, we're on Rosedale, and then we take another turn, and we're on Tioga, and we're right where Jordan Miles was almost killed by 3 Pittsburgh police officers for the crime of walking to his grandmother's house to go to bed. So this is your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't. Why did you choose to live in Homewood? Why is your porch in Homewood?
I've been living in Homewood for 5 years. I grew up in L.A., like I said, and lived, couch jumped for a couple years in Pittsburgh. And I moved to Homewood because as an artist, as a sculptor, I wanted to live and work in the same space. And I was poor, and I needed to make sure that I could live and work in a space that didn't compromise my ability to be creative and to be inspired. I didn't. So
is that too comfortable a place would compromise your ability?
No, that would be a space that would make it so that I had to work too much outside of my own house for somebody else to afford to live and work there. That means that's a space that is going to take so much overhead that it's going to compromise my ability to work. to do the work of my life. So I didn't want that. And I needed to be in a space where I was literally, I needed to also have a place where I could get a sense of like respite also, and I get that in Homewood because when I first moved to Homewood, I picked a house that was right around the corner from the fiber artist Tina Williams Brewer, who I've known since I moved to Pittsburgh, and who is one of the most generous and grounded and inspiring creative women creative people that I know. Like, what she has running through her being is rare. And I saw that there was a for rent sign around the street from her, and I saw that there was a space that was not in the best condition, which let me know that the landlord wasn't keeping that good care of it, which meant that the landlord might be open to me taking better care of it. And to me, if I take better care of it and he knows what I'm working with financially, then he'll be accepting to me not being able to pay my rent on time. So I called him, I talked him down on the rent and told him I would take care of certain things, and I did, and I got to live around the corner from Tina, and I would... I was able to work in the basement of a row house in Homewood, and there would be times when I would work so much I wouldn't see anybody else but Tina and my dogs. I would walk my dogs around the corner to Tina's house, close her fence, let my dogs off their leash, and sit on her porch. And she would come out she makes ginger lemonade, and she would come out, and it was like she knew exactly what I needed. And I wouldn't even have to talk. She would come out, and she would just start to talk. And she would talk about anything, about the people she talked to, about West Virginia, about going to Marshall. And it's like she would... she would be a salve for the places in myself that I didn't even know needed tenderness and needed to be cared for that way. And so that was where I first lived in Homewood. Then the landlord abandoned that property and told us, stay as long as you want, but I'm not paying the mortgage. I have given all this information to my attorneys. See what happens. And so I stayed there for a little while until all the other people moved out, and then somebody squatted on the end. The person who squatted on the end, somebody broke into one of the other units and he shot them. And at that point, I left my things in the house and stayed somewhere else and bought a house down the street.
Wow. Okay. So you got your house.
So I got my house.
Street.
I got a house down the street. Yeah, I got a house down the street in Homewood, and I had looked at the house on Craigslist, and the lady called me back. I looked at the house once, and she was asking entirely too much money for this house, which made sense because she later lost the house. The house went into foreclosure, and the day the house went into foreclosure, I saw the foreclosure sign and called the people. So I put the first bid on the house, and I got it.
It's a 3-story house.
It is. It's a 3-story house with a lot of light.
Yeah.
And when you walked in, there was a skylight from the kitchen to the bathroom to the 3rd floor, but we did get that fixed. We worked on all of that.
You mean an unintentional skylight?
Oh, yes, an unintentional skylight. So it was like, we're just going to let the water run and go through all the floors. And
man,
we worked on it.
I always wanted a house with a front porch. And I remember doing an interview with somebody once who said, when Americans started to move to the suburbs and they started to put distance between themselves and their neighbors with these expanses of lawns, and the homes they built did not have front porches. They instead had, perhaps, back decks. And so when they were even outside, they were away and fenced off from their neighbors. Whereas a front porch puts you out there, facing the street, facing people walking by on the sidewalk. And, of course, suburbs don't have sidewalks either. So there's no ability for neighbors to know each other. It's
a lot harder. You have to really be intentional about it.
Yeah, incredible. But so you're there on the front porch, and you're often doing your work, your sculptures
I have
on
a basement. My basement is, the ceiling is too low, so I will pull my sculptures onto the front porch and work on the front porch because they fit.
And in the course of doing that, something happened. Something happened.
There would be times that it would become such a spectacle. Sometimes it would seem like traffic would back up. It was funny because people would see the figures and be able to tell that it was art, but, you would see just people slowing down, and, some people would park their cars, drive around the block and park their cars and say, "What's that? What are you doing?" And some people recognize my work. A lot of people drive through Homewood to get to the busway from the eastern suburbs. They, park and ride. And people would stop and say, "Are you the woman who had the show downtown? You live in Homewood? You make this stuff right here in Homewood?" And there would be this moment for a lot of people
of incredulity,
where they were trying to put together the thought of Homewood and art, and they were having difficulty, connecting them and me as the person that linked those things, because downtown, gallery, art, cultural district, shine and lights, and
that was
Homewood.
Okay, and so if they knew you because maybe they'd seen your work at the Warhol, they're thinking, she doesn't have to live here.
People have told me that. People have actually said to me, "Why do you live there?" And they've said, "You don't have to live there. Aren't there other places for you to live?"
Okay, you're laughing. Well,
I do laugh.
You laugh because
I laugh.
Do you comprehend their question?
I think that when they're asking me that, they ask me because they are afraid. They would be afraid to be in that place. But they're saying there are other places that you could live. And that's not just take up a residence for me. Living in a place is not just having a key to a home and a place to sleep. To live in a place, I have to I'm an artist first. So in the nouns, for me, I'm an artist first. I'm a creative being. I have imagination and hands. I have imagination and fingers that I must, do something with, right? And so for me to live, I have to be inspired. I have to engage. I have to be curious. I have to also be challenged. I have, all of those things come into play in the equation of living in a place. And Homewood, and I think people get it when I tell them Homewood is my Harlem. And they're like, "Oh, okay. So it's, it's people, it's streets, it's shops, it's music, it's rhythm, it's, being challenged by all the ripples of poverty and injustice, and meeting those challenges with that which you love, which for me is art. All of that, because I believe that everything that I do has a purpose. So like I can't just, I don't just make art to sit it leave it in the basement. I actually, if I believe in what I believe in, then I have to let it do what I believe it can do. And so part of me living is living in a space where that, what I have faith in can do the thing that I believe, that I have faith in it for, so all of that goes together. And so when people say you could live some other place, and I could say, well, you just live wherever you want to live, and you invite me over to your house, and that's cool, and we can be friends, and that's the conversation.
One of the things, do you know, I live by car 5 minutes from you. Maybe if the lights are with me,
right.
3 minutes from you, right? And one night after leaving your house and getting back to mine, I was so blown away by the two seemingly totally different universes that existed.
Right,
So
they're different universes.
Cheek to jowl, different reality.
Oh, it is a different reality. There is ways that we and I'm putting a whole bunch of people into the we. Like, we are public safety officials, we are government, our city council people, our people in the neighborhoods, your neighborhood, my neighborhood, have a kind of unconscious agreement about what can happen in certain neighborhoods, right?
Right.
If I took a panel van and transplanted the drug dealers and the prostitutes that I know to your block, in a quickness, is SWAT teams. People would be snapping their fingers all up and down Grant Street. It would be an emergency. There would be a pair of scissors, a shovel, a project, and a bunch of TV crews and some outlandish white women crying and talking about how dangerous it is for their kids, and they won't stand by it, right? If we transplanted it. But in Homewood, folks will drive by a whole lot of desperate sex workers, and be like, that's what happens here. And so there's this unconscious agreement, the rules of a neighborhood. This can happen here, and it can't happen here, which are connected to a whole lot of things. And I'm not a historian, but I know that they're connected. The links in the chain of the stories that we live in about what we allow to happen in different places is...
So one of the things you said when you said come to my front porch to me is, I want the kids to meet people from outside of this
and just meet
universe.
them, and it's just regular, all of you meet.
You even said, as like there was a scarcity of them, you said, especially white people, you said, looking at me like that would be good. A white person. Maybe you forgot you said that, but I thought, okay, well.
Oh, no, I can see myself saying that to you right now.
So I thought white people needed to sit on porch. In Homewood. Why?
Because, one, there's so much activity on my front porch. You get to, people get to see you, and you get to see people, and have maybe engage with those people. So on my front porch, because I was making sculptures on the front porch, and there's the bus stop on the corner, people were just like, "What are you doing?" And it's scary, and I love it, and I like it, and I've seen your work before. And then eventually, especially the kids, literally, we wouldn't let kids in the yard. They would start to climb the fence, even though we were right on the front porch. And I was like, I see you are 8 feet away from me, and I see you're climbing the fence. You know that, right? And so we just started to let them in, and eventually my partner, Michelle, and I, pulled out all the old paint and all the old pieces of wood from working on the house, and we would, we let kids paint and make art on the front porch. So I'd be working on a sculpture, and they'd be painting, and so from doing that, there would be times when I would have to have a meeting with a person. And I'd be, we can meet, but you have to come to my house, and we're going to meet on my front porch. Because what would then happen is, eventually kids would come by and be like, Miss Vanessa, are we painting today? I'm like, no, I'm having a meeting with this person. Oh, have you ever met anybody who has a radio show? She does. And then they'd be like, you have a radio show? What is that like? And so it's an opportunity for them to see a whole bunch of possibilities, but to have it not be at a distance from them. You walk out your door, you walk down 25 feet, and there's another world, and it's in your neighborhood. You didn't have to, get on a bus, go through security, sign a permission slip. You don't have the sense that it is outside of you. That people who do neat, interesting, different things think so much of where you are that they're talking about the stuff that they do right up the block from your house. And there's a way that they were able to, and they were able to really they also, because it's my front porch, they feel safe enough to be curious, because they know that we take care of them. They know that I'm always, me and Michelle are always the people who are like, we take care of you, we share with you, so you have to share with each other, and you have to be safe. You can't just ride your bike out into the middle of the street. People are not, so they know that we are taking care of them so they feel safe to ask questions to the people who, I invite some of my friends specifically onto the front porch. So, this woman is a PhD and she's a poet. Do you know what a PhD is? Do you know what a poet is? There she is. Read her poems. And, that can happen in a way that is as completely child curious, friendly, and it opens up possibilities, but it's right there.
I'm going to give you a website, and I'm telling you, go. There's a video on that site, and you need to watch it. It's about 4 minutes long, and you need to read on that site, and it's called lovefrontporch.com.
Yep.
Simple as that. Of course, all one word. lovefrontporch.com. Okay? I got to take a break. We're coming back. We got to talk more about lovefrontporch.com. with the Porch's owner, and that'd be the artist, Vanessa German. We'll be back.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Laser Hair and Skin Center has been providing professional, affordable services for over 10 years. Now they're proud to exclusively offer RegenLite acne treatment. RegenLite is an FDA-approved, non-invasive drug, chemical, and pain-free treatment of all grades of acne. With RegenLite, you will experience a 50% improvement in less than 2 weeks, with lasting improvement for up to 12 weeks. Call the Laser Hair and Skin Center today at 412-373-1700 and receive $100 off your first session. Or go to mylaserhair.com for more information and to see their full line of services. The Laser Hair and Skin Center.
Pittsburgh City Paper is now available on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com to read this week's digital issue or search for restaurants, bars, concerts, events, and movies on any portable device. Plus blogs, Lynn Cullen, City Guide, CPTV, and Best of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout western Pennsylvania, and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a range of pep talkers standing by. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org and find free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education, brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Wow, damn. How come every time the mic is coming on, I hacking and coughing? Lovefrontporch.com. Please take a look. All right, Vanessa. There's so much going on. Okay, so you've got a show of her work, and she'll be performing also because you're a spoken word artist. Is that what they call them?
Yes, I'm a spoken word artist, and I created. I wanted to define for myself what it is that I do with spoken word, and so I call it spoken word opera because I love drama and I love the theatricality. So what I do is spoken word opera.
Is there operas that usually run 3-4 hours? Do you have anything like really
funny.
teeny weeny that you could like just give people a sense of your opera?
Oh, that's so funny. Sure, I will do. I'm going to do 2 teeny weeny things because they are. They show 2 different sides of what I do. One is a little piece that I wrote inspired by a group of kids that I was working with at Lincoln, which closed in Homewood last year. So it's called Mediocre, not mediocre. When they offer you the opportunity to be mediocre, refuse them. When they offer you the opportunity to be mediocre, turn them down. When they offer you the opportunity to be mediocre, tell them no. Tell them that you have too many things to do in the stars with your hands. Tell them you got dreams to dream and songs to sing and ideas to bring to life, and that chances are it ain't gonna happen if you are too busy standing on a corner holding up the block, looking for another bullet to dodge, trying to be hard. Tell them that you are a champion. Wow. So there's one side.
Okay, I have goosebumps.
And so the next side, I will do a piece of a poem that is a little bit more operatic. Cool?
Go for it.
All right, it's a part of a poem that you can actually hear a little bit if you watch the video that Chris, Chris Venus, who is an amazing filmmaker, did. That's on lovefrontporch.com. You can see a little bit of this video, of this poem. It's called "If My Hands Were Anything Other Than Hands," and I'm going to sing a little bit at the beginning. Baba way, oh, Baba way, oh. If my hands were anything other than hands, they would be two shooting stars galloping light across the galaxy. They would be a twin fandango of diamond-studded fingerprints hopscotching a radiant neon merengue of light. From each folded velvet edge of midnight into every tidy galaxy of 14-karat suns, my shooting star hands would reach and leap and turn the faces of every burning celestial pedestrian, star-grazed and gazing, bright-eyed, amazed, and awe-struck as my shooting star hands whip by in a flurry of pirouettes, spitting sparks and spilling light.
Oh, man. Spitting sparks and spewing light. We were talking about onomatopoeia the other day. That was onomatopoeic.
It is.
You could see the light. You could, oh, God, Vanessa. All right, so that's Vanessa, this is Vanessa, that's Vanessa. And back to your front porch, because you've got the porch, the whole idea of the porch has almost been overwhelmed. The porch itself has been overwhelmed by the idea of the porch. You need more space, no?
Yeah, we need more space, but we also need a way to give what we're doing the opportunity to be more permanent and to have structure and to find a way for it to be a little easier for the kids, because when kids are painting on my front porch and or in the front yard, because the front porch fills up very quickly, we do not let them come in the house to wash their hands or go to the bathroom, because it's our house, you know. So they'll go home with like paint on their hands and everything, and we'll give them Band-Aids and stuff. But there was a crisis in my neighborhood, and at the house where there was the crisis, the people ended up getting evicted from the house, and I asked the low-income housing agency that manages that house, that owns the house, if we could use the house as an art house, because I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity, so close to where my front porch is, to be able to offer kids the opportunity to make art when it's raining, to be in a place where they can, we struggle on the front porch for places for people to sit, for places for them to put their wood, to paint, and that's hard sometimes, because the kids come and they're always so excited. They want to do so much, but we really don't have the space for it, and that's hard, when stuff that they are working on gets ruined because it falls off of something that we just tried to, put up for them to work on. So the art house gives us the opportunity to have a space in this part of Homewood that is directly intended and purposed for the creation of art. And they can come and they know it's their art house. Every day they're like, Miss Vanessa, when's the art house opening? When can we do stuff in the art house? But the art house needs to be filled with stuff. We need supplies. We'll have the art house for 4 or 5 months, and we need all sorts of supplies. It's cleaning supplies, paper towels, soaps, buckets, and then all the art supplies that we're going to use for the 4 months that we have the art house.
So
Did I answer the question?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you're trying to, you need some money.
Mm-hmm, we're raising money. We're crowdfunding.
And you can see that at lovefrontporch.com, and an opportunity to donate as well.
Yes.
Excuse me. Okay. So I was wondering, what happens when the kids go back to school? What happens when the winter comes?
What's
when
funny is when the kids go back to school, it's just going to get more crowded. That's what happens. Because the front porch, even though it's summertime and you think, there's probably kids on your porch all the time. Well, Pittsburgh's public schools does Summer Dreamers. So all the kids, they go to Summer Dreamers, and It's much like, or summer school. And then they'll go to, you know, sometimes there's like little day camps, you know. But when school starts, everybody is coming back to the neighborhood at the same time. So they're hitting that corner, those buses, from 3:15, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and they all walk by my house. Miss Vanessa, we painting today? Are we painting? We just stand at the fence. Today, can we come today? So when school starts, it is when...
That's really when need that house.
That's when we'll try. There'll be like 20 kids in the yard. And I'm like, y'all are just painting each other now. There's no space to do anything else.
Well, so does that mean if once the house is there, I mean, it's there, once it's accoutered so the kids can go in, I mean, does that mean you have to be there superintending what if you're...
Well, one of the things that we're raising money for, because I can't. I have shows opening in Baltimore. I have to travel. And I also have to keep producing work. I spend... 60 hours a week in the studio, and I have to keep doing that. I have to, meet my work. I have to be there for that. And so one of the things that we're raising money for, because also you can imagine having a studio in your house, and my partner has her office in the house 5 or 6 times a day, kids knocking on your door. And I have 3 dogs who then go crazy every time somebody knocks at the door. And Miss Vanessa, are we going to paint today? So me and Michelle were like, how are we going to manage this? We need to put a sandwich board on our front porch that says, today we are in the studio. We will paint tomorrow. So one of the things that we're raising money for actually is to pay Michelle to manage the art house and to be the head person in the art house and managing also the other artists and volunteers who come in, because there's certain commitments that we've made to help make the art house run well. One, we know that at any time there are always at least 2 adults that have to be in the art house, and we'll invite other artists to come in. So we'll invite you back, and my friend is a trumpeter. His name is Sean Jones. He wants to come back, so he'll come. And I have all these other friends who are great artists who, if they come to the space and just be who they are and do what they do, the kids will learn so much from that. And so they'll come and do that. I'm sure some of them would volunteer, but art is a market, and there's an economy that runs all around art. So I want to be able to pay them a little bit to come and share some time in the art house, even if it's just a little bit, because one of the truths is that Homewood is an economically depressed community. And what if we can start doing another stream of revitalization through art and through the art house? Because the kids know that I have a show that opens next week. And you know what they say to me now? When is our show opening? Miss Vanessa, when is our show? When are we putting our stuff up? And so there's, I have the art house. All of this has grown organically from working on the front porch and asking, after they got evicted from the house that is becoming the art house, if we could use it. They said no. They came back. They said yes. And so we're going to have that, but we can't keep it forever. But there are so many other properties in Homewood that we could look at, that we are looking at, to make a place where not only the kids in the neighborhood can work, but the adults. We have great fiber artists in Homewood. My mother just moved to Homewood. Tina Williams Brewer lives in Homewood. There are so many women I've talked to. I said, would you ever want to do a quilting class? And there are some young women who just sit on their porches all day who are like, yeah, I can sew a little bit. I would come, and so we'll get a couple of sewing machines, whatever we can do to have that activity and to touch people wherever they are. Men are great quilters too, and I say quilters because we have those people in Homewood. But if I could, and I'm planning to, and it's in my vision to, get an entire block and have an art block, literally, and put up do a sculpture garden in one of these massive spaces where there were several empty, vacant lots together. And it's a vision, and it is something that, we will work up to, but there can be an entire economy that's called the art economy. And it's not where people are exchanging $8 million and, $5 million. It's where people are exchanging $50 and $100 and $200 and coming to spaces that they think are interesting, coming to Homewood from North Hills, coming to Homewood Homewood from North Carolina, because Homewood is like a little Harlem, and it can have this kind of a new way of looking at community and art and sharing art and having human connections across all of these different intersections in a place where you would least expect it. And I mean, I told you to come to my front porch, and you came. I
wouldn't even. I couldn't wait.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, having been there, it's simply wonderful.
It's a lot.
I mean, it's just simply wonderful. How could this woman's front porch not be wonderful? The children are wonderful.
They are, and you know, the children are. I mean,
wonderful. You're singing with them, you're dancing with them, there's so much going on all the time.
We are singing and dancing with them, and and sometimes that's embarrassing. I just have to say.
Oh, I think it's
fun.
It's pure delight. Caller, you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine.
Hey, this is Mike calling from Etna.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blown away by your guest. I donated. I went onto your website and made a $50 donation to you guys.
I'm sending you a high five right now, Mike and Etna. High five. Hold your hand up. Smack.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm watching you on the internet, so I'm getting delayed reaction because you blew me away. I mean, you got me fired up. I'm ready to walk through walls for you right now. But you know, I was in the last couple of years. I've been able to. I have a part-time job where I get to work in the inner city, and to get to intermingle with the with different people and different. What it blows me away is I would never go to the Hill District. That's why I even tell the people I talk to the customers and say, you know, I'm a white guy. I'm not going to usually end up in the Hill District or Homewood or Braddock or some of the lower income areas. But what I'm blown away by is the art and the different billboards and different things that are on the walls and the paintings. I mean, it's just the amount of art and people's skills. It blows me away. I mean, when you see a painting on the side of a building, I'm just awestruck. How do they figure out the dimensions and
mural making is like a little magic. And it's so beautiful to hear you be moved by seeing art in different places. But one of the things I also hear you saying, Mike, is that you experience art in people, you know, in talking in the different people that you talk to. And it's important for people to hear you say that, I'm a white guy and I didn't think I would be in these places, or, but it's important for people to hear you say that so that you can invite them to connect to it too.
I try to see the love and respect that we have in the city, and it does blow me away. And I'm not scared. People, even some of my customers will say to me, "Aren't you afraid of coming around here?" And I look at them. I said, "What? Afraid of what? What do you mean? Why should I be afraid? I mean, is there violence, random violence? It can happen anywhere. I mean, I live in Etna. I'm sure there's times when things happen where we don't know what happens. Somebody exploded. Something happened in their brains, and it's unfortunate. And I do listen. I listen to the older people. I talk to the older people, the older black people especially, and I learn so much, and I can appreciate. And you can only learn from the older people. I mean, people in their 70s and 80s, the wisdom and the knowledge. And we chat sometimes I go to these customers' places. It should only take about 5 or 10 minutes to do the transaction. I'm there for 45 minutes to an hour. We're just it's incredible. I mean, I come home such a high from just talking to people and interacting with the people from the inner city that I wouldn't get to meet or have an opportunity to intermingle with.
Well,
and to show people and let people know it's not. Don't relax. Quit listening to the media. Quit being scared to go somewhere. You're going to go to Homewood? Yeah, I'm going to go to Homewood. What's going to happen to me? The boogeyman's going to get me? Well,
yeah. I mean, I think most people, given how Homewood appears on our media, I mean, of course, there's
if you go over there, look out. I've been. I can keep talking, but I'll be short here. I've been to Jamaica about 5 times, and I love the country. I mean, it's the greatest. If you have an opportunity to go to Jamaica, go ahead and do so. But again, you hear people say, "Well, aren't you afraid?" Because I don't go to the resorts or the 5-star where they call it the human zoo, because you're in there. You're not interacting with the people of the country. You're seeing Americans.
because you are not afraid. You're not falling for these cartoon images of
exactly.
But hey, thank you so much for
thank
the
you,
call.
Lynn. I appreciate that. And,
thank
and
you.
Keep on pressing. You're doing a great job on the on the show. And as Vanessa, keep on pumping.
Thanks, Mike. Be well.
Talk to you.
I don't
Bye
think
now.
there's any. Thank you. I don't think there's any stopping Vanessa. I think he alluded to your signs.
Oh.
And I really want you to talk about the signs that are popping up all over Homewood and other neighborhoods. I've seen them now too. Mm-hmm. I saw one up by the I think is that Larimer up by the VA hospital?
Yeah, you saw one up there?
Yep, I sure did.
Oh, okay. So
they're everywhere.
The signs say, there are signs that say, "Stop shooting, we love you," and "No guns, keep summer fun."
They're like, on a little picket, like a political sign. They're the size of that, and you made two different messages.
Yes.
Stop shooting, we love you.
Stop shooting, we love you, and "No guns, keep summer fun." And it was primary election season, and I was seeing everybody's political yard signs, but I was also, hearing gunshots. I heard gunshots on the front porch in one of those beautiful March afternoons. It was like 80 degrees, and but I also, I had to do an inventory of my friends over the past 5 years who have had their sons murdered. And I was kind of blown away. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that, I knew that it was happening. But when I looked at the number, it's just devastating. And I didn't want to just be sad about it anymore. And then I had a friend who visited my front porch, and she was sitting there and she said, "Oh, well, isn't that's like what happens here?" And I was really struck by that because I remember the sound of my friend screaming and wailing when her son got killed. And I remember she said, "Oh, well," but I thought, no, OWAIL. And that's the sound of this. And so I was like, you can, that's what you think. And so I talked about it with a couple of people in my neighborhood, some great people, Diane Swan from Rosedale Block Cluster, there are a group of women in Homewood who are doing things that are absolutely potent, revolutionary daily acts of love and generosity and beauty and toughness. I mean, like tough, generous women. Like, what's better than that? A woman who will look at you and be like, "Sister, I love you, but you can't sell yourself or that on this corner, sweetheart. Mama gonna see you tomorrow." Like those kind of women. Tough and generous and beautiful. And every time you're around them, they are people I call enhancers. They just elevate the people around them, from Diane B. Swan, Tina Williams Brewer, Mary Savage, who plants the gardens in Homewood, or the librarian in Homewood. There are a core of women who are doing so much more than being activists. They are being loving people, and their love connects to actually elevates everything that they do. So I'm in Homewood, and I run these ideas by other people. They're like, "Oh, Vanessa, that's a great idea." And I was like, "Oh, it's a great idea." And so I looked online. I didn't print the signs myself. I wanted them to look as much as possible like political signs, so that people who have yards would think, "Oh, this is a campaign. This is something that we're doing," because I've seen other people try to make little signs that say, "Pick up trash off the street," and somebody will tear the sign up and it'll be ripped off right where it was. So I wanted it to look as almost kind of staid and as electoral as possible. And so I find where there are political signs printed, and I see that it's going to cost me $590 to print 200 signs, which is completely cost prohibitive for me. So Pittsburgh Foundation and the Heinz Endowments had given me a grant to make some sculptures, and I summarily went into that grant money and spent grant money to get these signs.
Good.
So thank you, Pittsburgh Foundation and Heinz Endowments, because they have supported me just to document what we were doing on our front porch, because I thought it was so magical. I was like, I just want to do what I do and make sure that we can document it and I wanted to create some site-specific sculptures and give them to places in Homewood. And so Heinz and Pittsburgh Foundation gave me grant money for that, and then you spent it on 200 "Stop Shooting, We Love You" and "No Guns, Keep Summer Fun" signs, and so it was amazing. But I want to say something else about amazing people helping. I could not afford to do that again. To do another 200 signs. Like, I couldn't take any more money from the grant money, and so I actually. Nobody knows this yet. I'm going to say, I hope, is it okay if I say it?
Breaking news on the Lynn Cullen Show. Go ahead.
I hope they don't mind. But I talked to my friend from the Women and Girls Foundation, and I was like, man, I made these signs. People come to my house like it's the Underground Railroad. They knock on my door all quiet, and they say, do you have any signs? We need signs for here. We need signs for there. And I told her that, and she's like, we'll buy them. And so Women and Girls Foundation bought the next round of signs. And mind you, and it's a big deal because it costs $120 to get them sent. And then we ran out of those signs because people were like, there's signs. And then I was like, I don't know where we going to get the money to do the next signs. And then I'm going to tell who did the next ones. Can I tell? ARCO. The Allegheny County Housing Rehabilitation, the ones who have the row houses. Yeah, the one, they evicted the people, and I was telling her, what was happening, and she said, well, could we buy some signs? And I was like, well, somebody better, because I don't know where we're going to get $1,500 to do 600 more signs. I don't know where that money is going to come from, and so they helped us do that.
How wonderful. So the signs are popped up all over. You drive around Homewood or other parts of the East End. I've seen them on Penn Avenue, blah, blah, blah. They're everywhere now. Stop and think about yard after yard after yard and street after street after street in Homewood with a sign that says, "Stop shooting. We love you." Do you not think that has an impact? I was on your front porch one day when 2 teenage girls walked by, and you stopped them, and you pointed to the sign and said, do you think that's going to change anything?
Yeah, I did. And they said, yeah. They every time I walk by and I see a sign, it's not just judging me and saying, stop being a criminal, but it says, "Stop shooting, we love you." She said, every time I see one, and I seen them, she walked up from, walked all the way a mile up Hamilton Avenue, and she said, every time I saw it, I think, oh, they love me. They love me. They love me. And I don't think that we can, there's only so far we can go with certain kinds of change, with certain, systems and programs trying to change things until we to go the distance, we actually have to talk about love. We have to talk about creative, understanding, redemptive goodwill. We have to talk about, my heart reaching out to your heart and saying, I know times are hard. You are still shady for having all those guns, and you need to stop what you are doing. We love you, and we love your mother. All of that has to be part of the conversation to move the change forward. Yes.
And that's exactly what you're just another one of those tough, loving women in Homewood.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Do I have to take another break? Screw it, because I've only got 5 minutes left with you. So the takeaway here is that there are people who with their creativity, their energy, their love, their just inability to stop being creative and loving, are making real change happen in people's hearts, in the way people interact, in the way communities even look and think of themselves. And Vanessa German here is doing all of that and will continue to, because she can't help herself. It's just who you are. So, if you want to see Vanessa's work, Pittsburgh Center for the Arts.
Yes.
It will be up starting next week, the opening Friday night next week. And it'll be there for months, right? Till
October 28th.
And there will be a few other times when you go and also perform.
Mm-hmm. And do artist talks so people could ask questions.
Okay.
And they can find out that information on the website that Pittsburgh Filmmakers and Pittsburgh Center for the Arts has. The exhibition is called 21st Century Juju, New Magic and Soul Gadgets. I'm thinking about the ways that we can literally use the technology of our soul and So I have a website called 21stcenturyjuju.com where you can find out all of the details about the show and the artist talks and all of that stuff.
Spelled Juju.
Juju is spelled Juju.
That's what I thought.
And you can also, another way that people can experience Love Front Porch is, I'm a poet, so I'm writing poems about it. And Stilltown Entertainment, which if you are not hooked up and know about Stilltown, you have to check them out online. Stilltown is documenting part of the process, and I'm going to put together an evening-length performance with media and poetry and art. And so I have to thank Stilltown and Carl Kurlander and Rachel and Kat and Chris, who are really a part of the Front Porch now, too, because they're there so much.
It's amazing. So even as she's appearing on this show, there's stuff going on because there is a crew here.
Yes.
That's why I said your life, your very existence is a work.
Yeah, and I like lemon meringue pie. Since we on the radio, there might be some great pie makers out there like pie, and I like chalk. Oh, I shouldn't do that. Huh?
Wait a minute. What are you saying?
We're talking about living in love, and so I thought about
what you love
pie.
And you like lemon meringue.
I really like lemon meringue pie. But please go to lovefrontporch.com and check out Stilltown and all the awesome programs that they're doing. Youth and media, which is how I got to know Chris and Rachel at Stilltown. And they're here right now in the studio with us. You just can't see them.
You are a hopeful person.
I am a hopeful person. And I'm not only hopeful, but I have faith. So everything that I do, I believe fervently that it is doing something else, and it is actually doing more than I can imagine that it can do. So I have faith also.
I know people who just are constantly, like, oi, the world, what are we going to do? Oh, my God. That never happens to you.
Well, that thing doesn't happen to me. That doesn't mean that I don't get sad. It doesn't mean that I don't cry and want to not go out of the house, because that happens too. But I'm an artist, and I'm so grateful that I have art to help me navigate for those times, because I will get really, really depressed. Thank you, Mood Disorder Clinic at Pitt, because I don't have insurance. So when I got really depressed and needed therapy, I went there. And that happens, but I can literally channel my grief and my sorrow, and also on the other side of it, my joy and my love into the work that I do. It's the best way that I know how to be alive.
Just one more question. All of those emotions you just talked about, sadness and love, and I never hear you mention the word that I think would be the essence of me if I lived in Homewood all my life, and that would be anger.
Oh, when I was in therapy, the therapist told me that anger is recognizing injustice and having your two hands up and saying, wait, this is so much heavier over here and this is so much higher, and grappling with that injustice. And I'm an artist, so I get to grapple with all of that through works of art, through sound, through the feeling of sound, through shape, and through texture. And also, so I get to do that, and I'm not stewing in anger at all, because I have too much stuff to do. There are kids come to my front porch and make up songs. I'm running with my slippers on. I channel, all of that. I don't have time to be angry anymore. I did that in my 20s. Peace out to anger.
Vanessa German.
Oh, thank you, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, I love this woman. I love her. LoveFrontPorch.com. Please go.
Please, thanks.
Okay. Toodaloo. See you guys Monday. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.